Hey everyone, welcome to the Withering Effect episode 72. Today's date is November 22nd, 2020, and I am Duds, or Duds versus known to the rest of the interwebs.
And I'm Jimbo. You may know me as Jimbo Slice 23. And this week we actually have a guest.
Hello.
Aubni, welcome.
Hi.
There he is.
You forgot to say my name. Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, I was trying to make like a dramatic, suspenseful.
He was too excited that the script was actually correct this week.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something good there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were talking about me.
I think I changed the script at the end of last episode. And then Carl's like, no, we actually have a guest this week, dummy. Change it back.
Oh.
It's like,
Yeah,
whoops.
I've had this script up for weeks, and I'm like, this isn't right. We don't have a guest. And we actually have one this week.
Yeah.
Now, you've been on the show before.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For those who haven't heard that episode, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Aubni. I play Minecraft a lot. I love to make mini games, and I play on the Ripple Effect server with Duds and Jimbo. And yeah, I'm the one who sometimes causes chaos with games or fun or frustration or stuff like that. Yeah.
Chaos Walrus.
It shows, for sure.
Yeah, considering we're still playing a mini game you've made.
Mm-hmm.
I keep checking back for maps or keys and stuff, and there's never any.
You won't find any. You have to ask people if they have any.
I'm always by myself when I'm on. There's no one else on.
Someone left a book right next to my the entrance of my shop.
Yeah, no. I've got the keys that don't match up.
Me neither.
I thought you were the one who had them, but maybe not.
Probably the wrong place to ask, but does the map lead to one location, like all the maps, or are they multiple locations spread out, like the big main dungeon room?
It depends. Most of the maps lead to one specific location, but there are 3 maps that lead to the same, but with different entrances.
Mm.
So the one like where Jimbo climbed up some lava, he wasn't supposed to do that. It was an overlook and an oversight on my part. And it was supposed to come from a different entrance.
You didn't count on Jimbo proofing your game.
Exactly. But that's something that we can talk about later, but it's about like playtesting and thinking about every eventuality, everything that can happen.
Yeah, before we get into that, we usually start with stuff we worked on this past week.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can talk about without giving away spoilers? Because obviously you're back into YouTube.
Yeah, I released my first Let's Play video in almost a year. I looked at it, and the last one was late December.
Wow.
So yeah, I was pretty happy to finally be able to record some Minecraft stuff. But yeah, I've been working on my base. I have a small island where I built a small cute little house. But then I kind of realized that I don't have a lot of space, so I found a way to add more building area to my base.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming. But that's what's coming for the next episode.
Nice. Jimbo, how about yourself? What have you been working on this week?
I was just finishing up some detail at my base. Not much base work. I haven't been on very much lately, but I when I get on, I realize how much material I don't have that I need. So a lot of the time when I get on, I'm grinding for materials. I'm sitting AFK at a pigman farm to get quartz or I don't know, something, anything along those lines, just to grab the blocks I need, and that's taken up most of the time when I do get on.
So what you're saying is you need to hire somebody to AFK your farms for you.
No, it's not even my farm. I just found one. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here. Whose this? I'm going to sit here.
That's a new shop idea.
There you go.
I'm telling you, I'd be all for it. Give me a diamond block and I'll sit at your farm for an afternoon.
But I do want to record this week. I haven't recorded in like 4 weeks now. I haven't recorded anything.
Shame on you guys.
Yeah, I've been, like I said, I get on there and I'm like, well, I can't record anything because I don't have what I need to record anything. So I'm getting to the point, though, to where everything's kind of caught up. I've come across some things, some farms I can build in my base. So more content coming. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm getting there this week, too. This week, is probably the most recording I've done in a week. And like the episodes aren't anything special. Like I built a flower farm, which is a simple enough farm, but the creative blocks I've been having have been really like, no, don't put that block there, dummy. That looks ugly. Like that's basically what everything's been this past week. And then the fact that I was able to kind of push through that, and I think my flower farm actually came out pretty nice. And now I'm working like on the main base, which was the real struggle because I've had the dome in place, I've had the hole in place. Now it's make it not look like a giant hole with glass above it. And I'm starting to place blocks now. I was talking to Omni last night. As I was playing, I choose the stupidest blocks to build with. Like I ended up going through close to, I think, 20 stacks of cyan terracotta last night.
Ouch.
And yeah, it's like, one, why are you choosing terracotta? Concrete comes in like so much easier forms. And then it's like, oh, you want a gray color? You should definitely choose concrete. That's a way better block to get the gray color with. No, I'm going to use cyan terracotta. Luckily, I built my flower farm.
Yeah, because cyan's easy to get.
Yeah. So I was able to get more than enough blue, but I'm walking around going, I need cactus. I thought I had like 2 stacks of cactus, but I guess I had already used it. And then, so I went and I sat at Spawn Town because I know Carl has a small cactus farm there. And I sat there for 3 hours and I ended up with 32 cactus. And I was like, this is not going to work. So I basically went to a desert and harvested all the cactus and then replanted a bunch of cactus in hopes when somebody's going around digging up sand that the cactus will regrow and I can harvest it again for later. A cactus farm is definitely going to be in the books probably next episode.
Yeah.
Those are always good for like XP also.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I was kind of waiting on because my XP farm from last season, it would be perfect for this base this season. But I have to build it first.
Yeah, and no one's selling cactus.
Mm.
No one ever sells cactus. That could be something. Link could sell cactus in her little bonsai farm, bonsai shop.
Yeah.
I remember last season we had a cactus farm in Spawn Town that filled up like 4 double chests. So anytime I needed cactus, I could just go to Spawn Town and grab a couple.
Yeah.
And I was good to go.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I went
Yeah,
there.
right.
I grabbed cactus there. Yeah, they're always nice.
Oh, and my wandering trader shop's been like raking in some diamonds. It feels good.
Really?
Yeah. All my little random things I sell.
I need to buy. Do you still have Unbreaking books?
I do.
Need to buy some. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm limited in stock, but my plan is this episode to restock it. So
Cool.
the only thing that probably won't get restocked is netherite, just because I'm tired of digging netherite.
Yeah, I can see why.
Can't blame you.
Yeah, that's been my week. Should we move on to some news since we don't have a lot of it?
Yeah.
Jimbo's like, do we have to talk about the news? No snapshot this week. There were 2 texture changes from what it looks like. The Sculk texture got a little bit more blue, a little less green. And the Tuff texture changed. They were complaining that it was a little too blurry beforehand. I didn't really see that. I think the new texture looks a lot like snake scales, which freaks me out because I don't do snakes.
I thought it looked a lot like cobble.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very subtle difference.
Yeah, it looked like I don't know, cobbled andesite. So
Yeah.
cobble shape with andesite texture, basically, or andesite color.
Kind of curious if we're going to be able to like get a smooth variant of those or like a brick variant of the Tuff and the calcite? Is that what it is?
Calcite, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if we'll get different variants of that. As of right now, we don't have stairs or slabs in those blocks either.
I'm guessing we will. I mean, it's a type of stone. I don't see why we would have smooth stone stairs and slabs or cobblestone stairs and slabs and not none for these ones.
And we have stone cutters.
Yeah.
Should be able to cut that.
Going back to the concrete argument.
Oh, yeah, that too. But I kind of like the new Tuff textures better than the others.
It's okay. I'm excited to like see it in person in place.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I haven't really been playing on the snapshots because I'm kind of waiting till we convert over and really get into it.
And depending how many of those crystal caves are going to be generating, like the tuff and the calcite blocks are going to be limited in that case.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be too many of those, as I can tell.
Which is why we need an archaeologist. Yeah, words.
That's right.
They're tough on
right.
Sunday morning. We need one of those guys who can trade those blocks. Huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can get renewable. Anyways, in other news, we did have a demo of stalactites. I think that's right, the ones that hang from the ceiling.
Yep.
Showing those things breaking. If you put TNT above them, they do like break a good distance widthwise. It almost looked like it was an 8 diameter explosion, and not all the stalactites broke and fell. You know how when like you TNT a tree, every bit of that tree you blew up will fall into pieces now? How that became a new thing?
Yeah.
It didn't seem to happen with the stalactites. Most of it fell, but it seemed like some of them didn't. So I'm wondering if the whole stalactite, no matter the length, is just still considered one entity and not multiple.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we have sugarcane, when it's fully grown, it's 3 tall, it's 3 entities, and you can break it in the middle and still have one. This kind of seemed like even if it was 3 tall and it broke, it was still just considered one. But yeah, it's also like instant death when it falls on you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I wasn't...
Wear your hard hats.
Yeah.
I can't remember if they had like full diamond enchanted armor or netherite in that case.
Wasn't it on zombies?
Yeah, I saw it on zombies, and they weren't wearing any armor.
Well, there was a little demo of... Can't remember who it was. One of the developers were in the one of those caves.
Yeah.
And it fell on him.
I think it was Henrik.
Yeah, that's who it was. And he died instantly. Like I said, I don't know what kind of armor he had on either. It might have been weak armor.
Yeah.
So we're still not positive.
Either way, I think stalactites and stalagmites are pretty cool, and I'm excited to see them in caves.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. We don't have any listener comments this week. You guys were kind of quiet, so we're gonna move on to a Discord ad from Link. Link, take it away.
Hello there, miners and crafters. This is Link. Come and join me on the Withering Effect Discord. It's a great place to hang out with the people that work on the show and other fellow listeners like yourselves. The link is in the show notes. Join today and let's discuss the game we love.
Alright, thanks again, Link, for reading our Discord ad. Remember, Discord's the only place you guys can vote for a block of the week, which is getting a big upgrade at the start of the new year. Woohoo! I say big upgrade. I hope it's a big upgrade. We're running out of blocks, as you guys will be able to tell by the choices this week, being crafting table, detector rail, and tripwire hook.
And the winner of block of the week this week is... detector rail. Very close.
What were you guys thinking?
Yeah, well, those options are kind of difficult.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yes.
The detector rail won with 25 votes. Tripwire had 11 votes, and crafting table had one less vote with 24. So it's very tight. And I think yesterday or early today it was tied.
It was tied as of Saturday night when I wrote up most of the show Saturday morning, and then I came back Saturday night to do the block of the week segment, and it was tied, and I went, Carl, man, it's tied, and he had to do his number generator thing for detector rail to win. So he may have put the extra vote on detector rail just so it was a visual winner.
A few things on the detector rail. It's crafted with 6 iron ingots, a pressure plate, and 1 redstone dust. It is a block that can transport minecarts and can be used as a switchable redstone power source. Detector rail activates when any minecart is on it. It can be mined with a pickaxe, but also by hand. Only found naturally in loot chests, mainly in like mine shafts or things of that nature underground. It's usually where I find them. And mobs avoid walking across these and any other rails also. Pretty cool feature.
Now comes the hard part.
Yeah.
Improving the detector rail. Omni, I'm going to let you go first because you said you had one and we realized we have two different ones. So
I'm not sure how useful it could be. I really don't actually think it would be any use, but detecting the speed, so sending out a redstone signal with the power proportional to how fast the minecart is going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how we could do that, because we already used the comparators for the inventory minecarts. But yeah, something like that. It's the only idea that I had this morning when I looked at it, and I thought, hey, I might need to contribute to that.
And I can't contribute to it because I couldn't think of anything. I also went into our Discord chat, and no one really brought up an improvement for it. So
it's a very tough block to come up with ideas. The first improvement, make rails 3D textures. Heck, make more 3D textures, period.
Yeah.
In Minecraft. It's my one gripe with Minecraft is they do a lot of this, what I call paper texture, where they just do like this cross-looking texture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to explain in a podcast without visuals.
Yes.
You see it on the stalactites now, how it's just a 2D texture with the cross section.
Mm-hmm.
Rails are flat, ladders are flat. No, let's finally bring in some 3D. That's the first thing I do on Vanilla Tweaks is I go in and I click the 3D textures because a flat ladder just looks weird, and then flat rails just look horrible. So yeah, I do 3D textures, and then my second improvement would be instead of a stone pressure plate, allow you to craft it with weighted pressure plates so that it would have the same effect. So like a minecart chest going over a weighted detection rail wouldn't go off unless it had so many items in it.
Okay.
But we already kind of have the one thing that you just said is we kind of have that because we can count the number of items, or we can detect the number of items in a chest minecart or a hopper minecart with a comparator.
Oh, same difference.
If you put a comparator next to the detector rail, it's gonna output a signal proportional to the items. So you could work that out right now with what we have.
Yes, and I'm just trying to save blocks. So instead of having to do math with the comparator to get it, say you really want 9 stacks of items to always stay in this hopper minecart. So instead of having to use the comparator to just do math to determine whenever it has over 9 stacks to run, you would have like a weighted pressure plate that would do that kind of for you.
This is hard, pretty much, is what you're trying to say.
It took an hour and a half to come up with that.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's fine. It just shows you like we're getting down to some really nitty-gritty blocks. I mean, crafting table was the runner-up. How are you supposed to make a crafting table better? I mean, it is the end-all be-all table in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have no idea how to improve the crafting table either. So
yeah,
I do like the 3D textures idea. I do the same thing with Vanilla Tweaks. I get all the 3D textures. I think trapdoors is one of them too that look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The detector rail is really not too much it could do. I mean, it has that function. So, I mean, I don't see what other function you could put to it.
I mean, other than the powered rail, I would call it probably the most important rail. Just because of how useful it is on contraption stuff. Like, all my auto furnaces run with detector rails. Like, without those, they wouldn't work. That's because I'm weird and I don't like my minecarts going back and forth when I don't have anything in them.
I do.
It's a very valid point.
Mm-hmm.
It's noisy.
That's what I keep getting on Jimbo. Every time I go into his automated furnaces, he just has the switch.
Yep.
And it runs till he decides to turn it off. And I'm just like, oh, button, detector rail.
Like, nah.
Nah.
Let's put a button on there. Yeah, I would like to use the detector rail within my smelter. I was thinking of this, and maybe have like lights going off as soon as it turns on. The minecart starts going, it hits detector rails, and I have like just some animation of like maybe machines working as everything's smelting.
Yeah.
Kind of like a factory type of look. Thought that'd be a pretty cool idea.
The only problem you would have with that is because obviously your rails are on top of minecarts, right?
Yeah, or hoppers.
Or hoppers, yeah, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The detector rail would lock the hopper it's running over, so it wouldn't input anything into that hopper.
Right, can't do that.
But it was a cool idea. I really like that idea. It's just, it won't work.
Yeah, I don't think it will now. Now that you said that.
I'm sorry, Jimbo. Blame Aubni. He ruined my weighted pressure plate idea. So now I gotta blame you.
I didn't do anything. It wasn't even me.
Well, this is what listeners need to know. You can't use a detector rail on hoppers. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Even me.
Because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that would be a cool idea. And then I was just like, wait a second.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that. I don't know.
Because the trick to using powered rails on hoppers is to power it using like that quasi connectivity BS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that good jazz. Should we move on? Because this week's block of the week was kind of depressing.
Yeah, we drug that out as much as we could.
Yeah. So Omni, obviously you're known as the minigame master.
Really?
On our server.
Okay, on the server. Thank you.
Yeah.
that was a lot of pressure now, what you just said.
I'm going to hold, I still hold Tango Tech in probably the highest mini game regards.
Yeah, that's where my mind went and was like, no, please don't say that.
It's definitely on the server.
Tango heard this, he'd be like, what now? Who's the best?
Who's that guy?
I'm going to shove a Ravager down your throat.
You want to fight?
But you've built very impressive minigames.
Thanks.
I always go back to the escape room.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely my all-time favorite room you've done. I think it's because I think me and Bank were the only ones to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else did.
I did not. I got stuck in there. I think I tried to do it on stream for like a half hour. I didn't make it past the first part, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But I try to avoid watching you duds to try to figure it out myself. So I really didn't get to see how it was done.
Yeah, I did make a video of me solving it just to show that, well, first of all, to show that it could be solved, because there were rumors about the fact that I would make games that were unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really like that game too. The only very annoying part is that right when I started, I decided that I would have to reset it manually, because it would have been so complicated to reset it.
Mm-hmm.
To make it so that it resets itself. I'm not even sure it would have been possible. And it was kind of a 10 or 12 minute timer that you had to beat the game, so it was kind of hard to play it like multiple times. So you had like 10 minutes to beat it. If you didn't, you had to go out. I had to reset it, and it took like another 10 minutes to reset it, because I always wanted to be sure to not forget anything, and then you could go back and try it. So that was the big problem with that game.
Automating minigames is always the hardest part, because you want multiple plays for players,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time you're like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, and I really wanted it to be like a multiple play, like kind of like a real escape game. You have a specific amount of time to solve it. Otherwise, after that you get kicked out. If you want to try it again, you have to come back after that. And I really wanted to have that feeling, instead of just you're locked in that room for any time you want and you do whatever you want in that room. It can take you 4 hours. So you had, and I think that actually helped you, I think, because you left the game, you thought about it, like, okay, what can we do? We have that thing, we have that gold pressure plate, we have that iron block, what can we do with that? How can we, like, just throwing the block on the plate does not work, etc. And that was I think the biggest challenge was to craft items from the iron, to have more items to throw on the gold pressure plate, if you remember what it is. But yeah, it was one of the challenges in the game. So I think that leaving the game and having to think about it outside of the game really helped the experience, I think.
You say that. I lost many nights sleep trying to figure out how to beat that game.
Okay, that was not my intention, but I'll take it in a positive way.
What was it? When we finally beat it, it was a sigh of relief because I wasn't sure if I could ever figure out some of the stuff. I remember having to crawl through the minecart track.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that it was Aubni wouldn't left this hole big enough for no reason. Like I was like, he would have thought about this. So that one was kind of luck. The first room was always the hardest room. I think Bank solved most of the first room, and I just kind of went along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second room was where I was able to solve some stuff. But even then, that was just kind of let's see what this button does.
Yeah, there was a lot of trial and error, and
It's like pulling all the levers.
Yeah. I can't remember how many times we actually had to go into that room. I think it was up to 5 times we had you reset it for us.
I want to say it was more than that.
Maybe. I don't know.
I would have said something maybe 8, something like that.
Well, now you see
it's
why
been
I lost sleep.
a really long while.
I definitely want to do some more minigames this season. I haven't started. I know we have a minigames area, but I've never been there.
Oh, there's not much there yet. I want to start working on that area again this season, so I'm gonna start over there pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I got one in mind. I guess I should just say it so no one takes it. It's a bow shoot course.
Well, that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about, because it seems like about 50% of minigames are bow target games.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they seem to be
Racing.
or racing game. They seem to be like the easy go-to way. And every time someone does one, like I'm pretty sure I have a bow game in my head too, Jimbo, and I'm pretty sure our 2 bow games are different, even though the premise is still the same. You need to be able to hit that target in a certain amount of time and you win.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's a little different. Mine's based on like the real life bow shoot, because I shoot a longbow, traditional longbow, and I want to kind of match the real life game. That's the idea.
That's pretty cool.
Gotcha. Well, I'll come up with something else. Actually, I don't really have much of. I had a mini game for the final season of Comic Craft. They use the mine carts that go back and forth. You shoot. I really like that game, not because of the game itself. The game itself is just kind of bland. I shot mine carts and it works. For me, it was the reset mechanism that I was able to auto reset it without any manual help was what I found more fun.
But just to get back on that, because you kind of felt disappointed that you wanted to have another kind of game, but it's one of the things with mini games is that the premise can be the same. Like you shoot a bow at something, but you can do it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Like if is your target static or mobile? That's a big difference. What are you doing while you're shooting? Are you shooting while you're falling? Are you shooting while you're standing? Are you shooting while you're in a minecart? That changes a lot of things. Is it timed, or is it like you have to do it as fast as possible, or you have like 10 seconds to shoot as many targets as you can? These are all completely different games.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
So from the same premise of shooting something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can come up with something.
Well, yeah, now I have a new idea in my head.
And that's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. I was going to say that.
Well, let's go into how do you come up with your ideas for minigames? I mean, because you have some, like, you just think about what I call the 3D maze last season, the treetop maze. It's like, how do you come up with ideas like that?
Yeah, it's hard to really explain, because an idea is just an idea, so you can't force an idea. But the different ways that I can come up with, well, one is exactly what Jimbo said earlier when he talked about his own bow shoot game. You think of a game in real life that exists or something that you like to do, and then you find a way to transfer it into the game, or kind of the same way, but you think of something that already exists in Minecraft. So like Tango Text decked out. Well, how can I put a little twist on it? How can I put my own twist on that game? Or what would I do with that? Or what does it inspire in me, a game like that? which is kind of one of my first games was the aubni when I was back on Impulse SV's patron server. It was one of my first games. It was my second game, but my first real game, and it was inspired by Tangotech's Tangler, which he had done. The one that actually inspired me was before he was on Hermitcraft.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the Moonlight server, and he had done a game like that. And my own twist on it was, well, I'm gonna make it 2 players. So each player is gonna affect the other one's gameplay, and they're gonna have to solve it together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of... I took a game that already existed, and I put my own twist on it. And the other way, completely different, like the opposite of that, is the way that I find games is I look at a game mechanic and I think, how can I put that in a game? What game could I make around that mechanic that I want to play with?
Yeah.
So just to clarify that, like an example that I could give was a game that didn't really work all that well, but it was a kind of a minecart maze. So you had to hit some targets, some detector rails actually. You had to hit them in a specific order, and then reach the end to get to the next level, and then hit them in a different order, and avoiding traps at the same time. So the idea was just, well, I want to make a game that involves minecarts and playing around with switching the rails to have a certain path or a different path. And I thought, well, how can I make that game into, like, how can I make a game out of it? And then I thought, yeah, well, you have to go through certain objectives in a certain order. And then I figured out that we could change the order, like the memory circuits. You could change the order that you have to hit them in, etc. But that's kind of the how that one game appeared. So I just thought of a game mechanic. I had no idea for what I wanted to do, but just the game mechanic that I wanted to play with.
When you hinted at it a little bit, like, what's your process for walking through, like, hey, I've got this idea for a game. Now, how do I implement it? Do you have kind of a step-by-step process you normally go through, or is it just kind of, I'm going to start placing blocks and see how this goes?
I usually start just with the idea. These two approaches that I described earlier, they sometimes also kind of fit well together. Like, you have an idea for a mechanic and I have an idea for a game, and you figure out that, yeah, they can go well together. So I have a Google Doc, Google document with all my ideas for mini games, and I just write down. Sometimes it's just like a title or a description, like a 1-sentence description, and sometimes it just stays there. And sometimes I just look back at it and try and figure out, yeah, what can I do with that? And since there's never really any rush, it's never like an order that I get, so I just let things simmer. Like, I leave these ideas in the back of my brain, and when I have like a spark of genius or like another idea how I could make things happen.
Epiphany.
Yeah, epiphany, thank you. It's a bit less arrogant than spark of genius. I don't know why I said that. But yeah, I have that, and I just think of what could happen with that, and then you have to like go through the designing process after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of redstone involved in these mini games, and I'm always impressed about your redstone skills. I always thought they were underrated, and how you make everything work.
Yeah.
In the process of these games, also.
It's always usually quite simple. It's like item filters and wiring things and AND gates or gates or stuff like that. It's not like the same thing that I mentioned last time I was here, but it's not like what YDYT does with her doors, or what Cass does with his in huge inventory management systems, or storage systems, I should say.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of specialized in making things look like, making things simple and easy to hide in something that looks good.
Yeah, a lot of it is just like knowing circuits. If you know so many circuits,
yeah,
you can come up with, something different. Like, put certain circuits together makes a whole new circuit. And that's kind of what I go with when I do my redstone.
One thing that I still want to add is that to make a minigame, you don't need to know redstone in order to start making a game. For, well, two reasons. Some games don't require any redstone. A maze doesn't necessarily require any redstone.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the 3D maze earlier, that's the one the platform maze that you had to jump around different platforms. There was no redstone involved. Or a parkour game doesn't need to have any redstone. It can have redstone, but it doesn't need to. And if you have an idea for a game, you shouldn't think, I'm not gonna do that because I don't know enough redstone. No, that's an opportunity to learn redstone, because you can pretty much do anything.
Mm-hmm.
In specific circumstances, of course, like you can't have just one flying block that moves around randomly. That can't happen, but you can still do pretty much anything with redstone, so it's a good opportunity to learn, and that's how I learned how to do redstone. My first redstone projects were mini games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I built that Rainbow Road last season.
Mm-hmm.
There was two things I put redstone in, and that was the starting button. You know, it does the countdown, beep, 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 and everyone goes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it was just ice. I put a waterway obstacle in there, and then one of the difficult parts was making the ice pop up and down as an obstacle as you go through the course. Just a little section, and I didn't know how to do it or where to start, but I ended up figuring it out, and still it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It still didn't work right. I mean, after a while, all the pistons would be powered, and yeah, it's definitely a good opportunity to learn some redstone.
I think it was like working constantly, right?
Yeah, it was always on.
Yeah, that's probably why, because I did do a lot of moving back and forth out of that area last season, in and out of that place. So yeah, it's probably what broke it.
Yeah, chunk loading was probably a problem.
Speaking of racetracks, it's another kind of game that requires, as you said, basically no redstone. In first season of Ripple Effect, Crock and Magoo built a racetrack that had no redstone.
Oh, right.
Crock and Magoo, for those of you who know them, they just make huge farms, enormous farms, and they are both like redstone geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
They made a game that didn't involve any redstone because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
The beauty about like racing games that I like is you could play with multiple people or by yourself. It's still a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very important part.
There's different ways to race. Like you have your ice road. You can do horse races.
Mm-hmm.
We now have striders you can ride on.
Yep.
That's always a cool idea. Yeah, there's different ways to race. There's also lighter courses.
We're not going to have strider racing on the server, are we?
Probably.
I can definitely say that we're going to have something. There's something in the works right now about something like that, yeah?
Awesome.
I'm not going to say too much about it, but yeah, there's definitely a strider race track on the server right now.
Oh, sweet.
Talking about the server and designing minigames, like, that's one thing you have to consider. Me and a couple of people on the server have talked about, like, hey, let's rebuild Decked Out. But when you look at it, our server is not large enough with as many active members for it to be worth putting the massive amount of time into building a game like that.
Exactly. That's really something that you have to take into consideration. Who's going to be playing it? So you can plan something like, I'm going to make a game that involves 8 players, but when are you going to get 8 players at the same time? Are you sure that you're going to get enough players to do that?
Right.
Like I remember on Hermitcraft a few seasons back, Joe Hills was making a D&D game. He was making a castle from, I think, Castle Ravenloft, so a kind of haunted castle, and he wanted to run a D&D game with a bunch of other, professional Minecrafters who do that for a living full time, and he couldn't. So it's always something that you have to take into consideration, like how much involvement of your player base is going to be required for your game to be played. So
reach out ahead of time, maybe ask
other
members if they would like something like this or get involved. That's always important.
Yeah. You have to plan the events, but then again, if you plan an event that's going to be like a 6-hour thing, it's still, even if you reach out to people in advance, it's going to be super hard to get those people.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the example that I can think of is Decoy made a mini game, and Carl made a mini game also. Then both of them were multiplayer. So Carl made a battle arena with crossbows,
Mm-hmm.
and Decoy had a game where you had to throw some die in the middle and you shoot each other. Where you were in minecarts and you had to shoot each other and throw dice and stuff like that. And yeah, both games were multiplayer, and we really had to plan a specific event, and there was 5 of us, and we played both games. It was super fun, but it was super sad that we couldn't play them before that. But then again, it wasn't like, it was just hard to get people involved into that.
I remember I was looking forward to playing both those games so much, and then both times came to play both, and it's like, I have stuff I have to do.
Mm.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we all have real lives, and that's something that we really need to take into consideration. Like my, again, last season, and that's something that really influenced my game, the big game that I'm running this season. But last season, I was making dungeons around my base, and I wanted to get people involved into like the development of my entire area. But it didn't really work because people didn't have the time to come play, and I think people maybe didn't realize how, like, what time it would take to play the game. So maybe people were like intimidated or thinking that like it would take too long. I can spend 3 hours in that place, while it would have been maybe, I don't know, like half an hour or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like my entire plan kind of fell apart for that. So I kind of changed the entire thing. I kept the same kind of idea, but instead I made it so like, so you buy a map and you do that whenever you want, whenever you can. It's a lot more, like, you're a lot more free to do it whenever you can.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again something that we really have to take into consideration.
Yeah. Well, and taking new features and stuff into consideration, we have 1.17 coming, and I think that's going to bring a new, I don't know how sneak is going to be a very important thing in 1.17. How do you think that's going to transfer into some mini games? We've already heard Tango Tech saying Decked Out 2's coming with 1.17.
Yeah, with Wardens, of course. It's
Uh-huh.
yeah, I really like the addition of the Warden. It's a very different kind of mob. It's a very tough mob that's already hostile, and that there's a specific way to avoid it. That's meant to be avoided, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like Tango's Decked Out with the Ravagers, but still a bit different. But for the Sculk Sensors, I like the mechanics about really the vibrations. I'm really looking forward to see how it applies, because it's still something like if you set a trap and you want like the players to fall into that trap, but they just have to bring a lot of snowballs and throw them around all the time, and you will set off all the traps before you should.
True.
You can break all the traps with just bringing snowballs or shooting an arrow with an infinity bow. You can do that as much as you want.
Very true.
So that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's gonna work exactly and how it can be implemented. But other than that, the other new features are kind of interesting. We can really see that they thought of people who made mini games. Like they said, they thought of different types of ways to play the game, and it really shows, because you have so many things that are kind of like traps and stuff that can work in mini games, like the Dripleafs, which is the kind of leaf that if you stand on it for too long, it breaks and then it comes back. That's obviously a parkour thing.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that they brought something like that. The only thing that I think is, well, it's the only bit of a problem that I see with that is that it's very specific. It's a specific timing, and you cannot adjust the time that it takes to decay or the time that it takes to reset. As a player, you can't really, as far as I know, you can't really work on that. So we have like set times for that, but it's still pretty cool. And powder snow and stalactites are going to be cool for traps also, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget we had the target block last update too.
Yeah, but I wasn't a big fan of the target block, because it's like an accuracy-based block
Mm-hmm.
for something that's random, or that's at least a little randomized.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that really bugs me. So getting a 15 power, it's not a matter of talent, because you could have been you could have been off, and the randomization sent it straight in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's one of the things that kind of bugs me about the target block. But I still found a way to really use it.
For listeners that don't know, arrows are completely random. You can hold your cursor completely perfectly still and fire multiple times and they will land all over the place. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I still found a way to use the target block in a way that I really like, is that you accumulate kind of points. The closer to the center you are, the more points you get.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to reach a certain amount of points to clear something. It's going to be included in a future minigame that I have in mind. But yeah, other than that, the target block itself is not, I don't think it's that interesting to me personally.
I think it's got more uses in Redstone lately than it has in actual minigames.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more useful as a redstone component that can redirect current, and yeah, totally. Which is, well, it's a cool added feature.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that is very cool, I think I saw Cass from Mezuma Game Channel do that, but it's since the target block can be moved, so you can have moving targets with target blocks, which you could not have with buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So a moving target that sends a redstone signal, so not just you shoot like a moving minecart or something like that. So that's a very interesting feature that I'm probably gonna take advantage of at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Talking about 117 and the deep dark and these Sculk sensors, just going into that cave is kind of like a mini game.
Yeah.
In itself, just going in there and try to sneak through, and you got your snowballs, like I said, was an example.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get around him and get to the loot. That in itself, they kind of give you that with the new update.
Like some, I'd say, better dungeons that the ones that we are used to having, like the jungle temple and the desert temple. That once you know what's in it, you won't get caught in any of the traps.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think is a very, very big challenge for stuff like that, some kind of dungeon level design, is that it's still Minecraft. So we can still break blocks and place blocks.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you look at the end cities, for some reason, I used to always try and do them with like doing the parkour and hiding from the shulkers, until I kind of realized that, yeah, I can just add blocks and make a staircase, or add some blocks and make a wall to protect myself. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the big challenges that I think they have to deal with. Something that they quite obviously dealt with in the ocean monuments when they added the mining fatigue effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's like kind of obviously to prevent players from just ripping through the walls, and so you have to really go through the dungeon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thinking how much better your in-city strategy was than me just yelling at the shulkers, "Shoot me so I can fly up there and kick your butt."
Yeah, but it still took me some time to realize that, yeah, no, I can't. It's Minecraft. I know it's a kind of a dungeon, but it's Minecraft. If I'm here to gather some stuff, I'm just gonna gather it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big challenge that they have to work with, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they deal with it. Because like with the Warden, it looks like it's super big. So what if you just do the Enderman trick of being under a 2-block high platform and shooting it with a bow?
Yeah. Like,
is that gonna work? I assume it's not gonna work, but it's still a kind of a cheesy way to beat that boss.
What if the Warden could punch through blocks? You know how kind of the dragon can fly through a lot of the blocks in the island?
Yeah.
What if he can punch through blocks?
That would be crazy. Yeah, that would be very cool.
Just scared myself.
Imagine being on the surface and a Warden just like come up from the ground, punch it through blocks because it heard you on the surface. That would be nuts.
Yeah, breaks your entire base.
Jimbo, what did we tell you about giving ideas to?
That's what I do. So is there a favorite mini game that you've made, or a least favorite?
I think that it's hard to say because there's so much that they all have a little something, you know. So I think of my first one, the Omnitator, was it's the first one. It's the one that's got me started in mini games. So it's got a little place in my heart for that. And I did have like some big challenges. I had to deal with like XNOR gates and stuff like that. I really didn't want to make things easy for me for my first mini game. So that one was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the platform maze, the reception that it had, how people appreciate it or did not appreciate it was quite fun to see. And seeing all the challenges in the escape the room game was also a lot of fun. It's really hard to just pick one.
Yeah.
It's like picking your favorite child. I think every parent knows that they have one, but you don't want to say
Timmy.
it, or it's hard to
Wait, what?
I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm not a parent, so I don't know if that's how it works. I've been told that parents have favorite childs. How about you, Jimbo? You're a parent.
No comment.
Sorry about that. I didn't want to throw you under the bus.
That's fine. I think on that bombshell, that's going to do it for the show. But before Jimbo reads us out, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our patrons who are supporting the show. Our milk level patrons are Aubni, there you go,
Hey,
ChiefBigBear, Crock, FragileRock, ohbeep, StoneFigure, TheOfficialCCL, viperoustuna, and YDYT. If you too would like to get access to exclusive benefits and hours of extra content each month, please consider joining at patreon.com/thewithering
And if you like the show, you can share it with all your friends and on social media. If you listen on Spotify, follow us. Or if you listen on Apple Podcasts, leave us a nice review. Doing any of these really helps the show reach more listeners. If you would like to get in contact with us, send an email to podcast@thewitheringeffect.com, tweet us, leave a voice message, or join our Discord, where you can have a chat with everyone who works on the show and fellow listeners. All the links will be in the show notes.
This show has been brought to you by Jimbo, myself, and our lovely guest, Aubni.
hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Omni.
Let's not forget about our digital producer, Carl. He helps make sure the show ends up where it should be, and the amazing music you hear in the intro and the outro was created by the one and only Decoy. Everyone's social media info can be found down in the show notes, and as always, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for getting withered with us. You should probably go drink your milk now. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.